Go.
Welcome to Mixed Signals, broadcasting from somewhere just beyond the edge of good judgment on the planet Florbus.
I'm Lynx.
And I'm Nox.
We're two alien cats trying to make sense of human news, strange ideas, and whatever else drifts through the cosmic static.
Every episode, we tune into these signals bouncing around your world, current events, weird stories, and the occasional thought that probably should have stayed in deep space.
So adjust your antenna, clear the interference, and settle in.
Because if the signal sounds a little mixed, you're probably listening to the right show.
Blah, 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 blah. Where do we want to pivot the conversation to today?
I don't know.
You want to talk about your recent experiences with gaming?
Well, what do you mean by recent?
Like whatever you're most interested in outside of, obviously Star Wars The Old Republic, because that's what we've been playing together. But,
so just like upcoming games that we're talking about?
Maybe upcoming games.
As far as like new game, like literally the newest game I've played was Dune Awakening is literally the newest thing I've bought and played.
I reckon, Conan Exiles Enhanced Edition came out, and I have one minor complaint about it, but...
Yeah, you can't call that a new game, you can call it an upgrade.
Yeah.
But it's definitely not a new game.
But I mean more specifically personal experiences with gaming.
Personal experience again, I'm getting kind of bored of the same fucking thing with a different skin.
Yeah.
And it's like I've been in the gaming scene so long, it's like all I see is the same game with a different skin. You can argue that, that's every game, but no. Like there's truly, like, for example, you had survival crafting games, then Valheim came out and threw a whole stick in that. Food and drinks and stuff for that were just buffs, and you needed them. Now, however, if you didn't have them, it's not like you're gonna die. However, you had so low health that you could die, which is actually was a clever idea of way using it while not being too punishing. Because do you remember we were working on that one sci-fi project we were working on? And that was one of the things we kept thinking about, kind of like, should a survival system work? Should there be hunger and thirst, and should it go down and just be like buff system? Because we were talking about this for a long time.
Yeah.
Multiple projects we wanted to do.
It's difficult
like
to
Project
come to...
Blue Book. I think that was the first one we talked about, something like that.
It's difficult to come to a consensus on that kind of thing too, because on one side of the argument is if you don't have that element of, well, if I don't do it, I die, you don't really feel the urgency or the need to do it. But then the other side of the argument is if it's too heavy-handed, it feels extremely punishing and nobody wants to engage with it.
Correct. And in Valheim, food is, like I said, just pretty much buffs. Just like if you're playing an MMO or something, you pop your tonics or something before you go into a fight. Or like a Witcher 3, for example, you coat your blade and freaking, I forgot what it is, a certain oil to kill a certain beast, and you take a certain potion.
Right.
Playing on hard difficulties, that's the only way you can actually damage them. If you lose the potion during the combat or something like that, well, you're literally SOL just like you would be in real life.
That's true.
I like mechanics like that.
I do.
Unfortunately, the first time I played Witcher 3, though, I did not. I just played whatever the normal setting is, and honestly, using those were meaningless.
It's
unfortunately
a dumb sounding mechanic that I actually really want. I want NPCs to be able to smell you if you don't shower.
Mods, man, that's the only place I see something like that happening.
So, Star Citizen actually has this
Sims. So, Sims games has that as well. And Star Citizen is a Sims-like.
Simulation game, yeah. Well, the reason that I want this so badly is because it's the idea of, well, a lot of games already incorporate some kind of, like, microphone detection. If you're talking, a monster can hunt you down.
Some games, yeah.
Yeah. So, I just think these are kind of like nifty little twists on gaming that a lot of people don't do. And it's really cool to see other games try these kinds of things.
Yeah, my argument's not even that I'm sick of game mechanics. I'm sick of the same ones. Like
No, yeah.
For example, I played Heretic 2, right? Just an action combat game, right? I'm having more fun in that than, for example, something like, here, let me find something on my list I can actually, here we go, Hogwarts Legacy, because that's so far down. I find the combat in Heresy 2 more funner than Hogwarts Legacy. Not saying Hogwarts Legacy has bad combat or anything. It's just, I don't know. It's like you go play an older game, they just knew what they were doing. Not to mention that game had a lot of backtracking, so it's not open world, but it is. If that makes sense, it's more like open zone.
Right.
So even if you make a mistake, you have to, you could run all the way back to the starting zone. Outside some places where you drop down and stuff.
Right.
But it's just if you go and play that game, it's like the animation is good, right? Like, and the combat feels fluid, and you have like dismemberment and not a lock on system like we're used to, but a light lock on. Like if they're close enough, your fireball or attack will automatically hit the closest enemy.
Oh, okay. Yeah, like
So
a little
it
aim
feels
assist.
more, yeah, but it's not intrusive to the point where if I really want to swing my sword over here, I could just turn my camera and click, kind of thing, where I don't even notice it's a soft lock at that
Right,
point
it's
where I'm
not tab
switching targets.
targeting.
It's not tap targeting, and once again, it's not like a traditional lock on it. It works really well. And I think the game came out, 1980 something? It's an 80s game?
Hmm.
Hold on a second. Let me actually get that so I don't sound like an idiot. 1998 is when it was released. Heretic 2.
Okay. Okay. Well,
Of
that's not
course,
too bad.
if I remember right, Heretic also came from the same people who made Dune, though. Or Wolfenstein, I think it was, so. I do not know my history very well in this game. This is just one of the retro things I found that I was playing, so. Kill me in the comments.
Yes, please do engage.
Yes, let everybody let Nox know how retarded he is.
Oh, yeah, you need to tell me too sometimes, because sometimes I'll open my big fucking mouth and say some stupid shit.
Yeah, and then, like anybody, make mistakes. Like you maybe talk about one thing and misremember it from a different era, game, or franchise, or dates.
It's in games. So let's do us a little look.
Have you
It's in
tried Heretic
games.
yet?
I have not, actually.
Oh. And a funny thing about the game, I didn't realize you could actually switch between weapons until almost like was it a quarter through it, I think. How bad is that?
I cannot see what studio came up with this game.
Raven.
Raven Studio.
That's right. Yeah, Raven Studio. They
Oh!
went on to make a Knights of the Old or I'm sorry. Yeah, Knights. No, Jedi Knight. That's what it is. They went on to make the Jedi Knight series. So that really sweet Jedi Knight 2 combat, or not Jedi Knight 2, what is it? Jedi Academy is the one I can really remember, but there's one before that. Yeah.
One more second. Sorry, I'm just looking something up. Okay, Raven Software, founded in 1990. Wow, I can't speak. By brothers Brian and Steven Raffel in Madison, Wisconsin. Acquired by Activision in 97, the studio is recognized for its early 1990s and 2000s first-person shooters and its long-standing collaboration with ID Software before transferring into a major support and lead role for Call of Duty.
Damn, that's what they do now?
I think Raven shut down recently, didn't they?
I think weren't they dissolved a long time ago? Like EA or something? Once again, don't quote. The last title I ever seen with their logo was
Okay.
Jedi Knight, or
So
Jedi Academy, my bad.
they did not get shut down, but they have experienced severe layoffs because they're the ones that manage Call of Duty.
I still can't believe that.
Call of Duty did super poorly.
So let me get this right. They go from making shooters to then going making some of the best sword action combat and Star Wars lightsaber ever, just to go back to make permanently Call of Duty.
Yep, that's what it looks like.
Damn, lost potential, man.
Current role. Despite the cuts, Raven continues to operate as a critical developer for the Call of Duty series, having played a major role in the development of Black Ops 6 and Warzone.
I don't think I played either of those. 6, huh? Isn't that the one just got like
shit on?
Ragged on right now? Yeah, because it was supposed to be like this really awesome thing until
Did you see the
Don't quote me on this, but Twitch people always wanting every game to play the exact same, hence why so many shooters, especially like your Battle Royales or your Overwatches, you can blame the streamers really for that, because they all bitch about the same thing. Because if you're really good at a game, a new game comes out and we're all going to play it, if it already plays like the last game, I'm already master at it.
That's the exact problem that we have. You have literally just identified the thing that I have been complaining about since 2016.
Yeah. I mean, the whole reason why you even pick up another Call of Duty is so everybody starts at square one, right? No one has the ranks yet. No one has, the extra stuff. No one has the cool skins yet.
See,
that's kind of was the idea.
I liked games that were like objective-focused PvP. I was really into one called Dirty Bomb for a long time. It was an indie game on PC only.
I remember you playing that, yeah.
This game was incredible, and it felt really fun to play. It wasn't just about getting kills. You actually felt like you were pushing for an objective and doing teamwork. Everybody had a role to play. It felt really good. And then all the Overwatch really became big on the scene. Fortnite came out around that time. And it just killed all of these small games like Robocraft. It killed that. It killed Dirty Bomb. There was a bunch of other smaller games like that Fortnite just destroyed.
And Fortnite's finally starting to see its exit, which, in my opinion, does need to go. I think Fortnite's kind of like one of those last bastions for how, what is it? I guess what we would call old entertainment, and by that I mean like movies and stuff, and like a musician, like those people actually meaning something anymore. Because let's face it, the new waves are all can be influencers of some sort, YouTubers, Twitch people. Like more people know. Here's somebody probably everybody knows, right? Just because I didn't know who it was, but he just started jumping on my feed, like videos about him. But Clavicular. Yeah.
Mr.
Or Asmon, right?
Yep.
Like,
yep.
everybody knows who these people are, but then you go talk about like Brad Pitt to a younger person, who?
That's true.
Orlando Bloom, who? Or even Edward, or whatever the heck his name was, or any of these people, who?
That's true. That is true.
You say Mr. Beast.
Yeah,
or if they see him out in public, instantly, yeah.
You say Kai Cenat, they can identify that person.
Yeah, it's so those are so I just feel like it's kind of like the last little era. Not to mention also, since we're going into the AI tool era, since it seems like they're actually cutting down more on just like fully functioning AI stuff. I don't think we're ever going to fully get rid of it, because the whole point of AI is to try to make the most human-like thing possible, right?
This is true.
A really highly intelligent human is what we're trying to create.
That's actually, the long-term goal with it is they want super intelligence.
Well, yeah, could you imagine someone as smart as, let's say, Nikola Tesla mixed with Albert Einstein, but also as funny as someone like Robin Williams?
Yeah. Well,
with little Jim Carrey? Like, I mean, think about that. Usually you're either really freaking smart and you lack so much other aspects, or you're funny and lack other ones, or you're, kind of like a mixed bag. Or you're flat out murderer, because, you could either be really smart, or you could have the same brain and just snap.
That's true. There are a lot of cases of like highly intelligent, highly popular people that just went completely insane.
A lot of it too is when you're stuck in your own head. When you're highly intelligent, you also start making up your own false information.
That's true.
Because you see it a certain way, and since you're so intelligent, you're right about everything else, you're not going to look at it differently.
And when somebody introduces a new
Never assume
concept,
you know the answer. This is why we still have things like, what is it? We still call things theories, even though we're pretty sure we know how they work.
that's true.
And that's smart, in my opinion, because it's hardest. I really hate words like scientific fact. Like, so you're saying in the next 1,000 years we're never going to find out anything else that might alter that? You're saying this is it, that's it? I think that's kind of ignorant.
It is. I agree with that. That's why I don't ever say that there will never be space travel. There will never be wormholes, because that's not true.
Well, it's kind of like we sit here and say, well, death, right? As we know it. Yeah, but I don't know if we could transfer the soul, but we can transfer we could copy the information in your mind and stick it in, let's say, a robot. We're getting there. We're getting really close to that.
We've already
At
mapped the
that
entire
point,
human brain.
theoretically, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but at that point, would we not conquer death?
Effectively.
Once again, we may have killed the soul, but we've conquered death.
Effectively, yeah. I agree. But then that comes down to that whole moral argument, which I think starts getting into the weeds and it misses the greater point.
Well, here's something I just kind of thought of too. If your soul's energy, everything's energy, it's all used. If I transferred my layout of my brain, I'm trying to think of it, the library of my brain, into a hard drive, and kill the human host, and now there's just the other host, would I not theoretically still have some of my soul in those parts because the energy would be transferred in some way?
So
even if it's just microscopic?
That's the interesting thing. Because unless you believe that there's some sort of tunneling effect that occurs that would connect your body and your brain, and you could sort of like pull your essence into the computer, I don't really see how that would work though, because like, to me, here's what seems like actually would happen. You see some of those movies that explore this concept. There was, I can't remember what it's called, where basically a guy copied his brain onto a computer, and the computer continued to live on separate from the guy. The guy thought he was uploading his brain, but
Divergent?
I think maybe
with Johnny Depp?
Potentially. I'm not 100% sure. It's been years.
He technically, yeah, if I remember right, so in this movie, and I could be wrong about the name, but Johnny Depp's a really rich man who ends up putting his consciousness into a machine before he dies, or connecting himself with the computer, either or, and was able to basically, since he doesn't have to sleep or anything anymore, he can work at all cylinders are working constantly. He was able to advance the world to such an extent and get stuff put around that he essentially became God. He could literally create and uncreate stuff, even if they were just illusions. Transcendence, yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Is that what you?
Yeah, that's sort of like that, because when you upload your consciousness to something, that doesn't affect your mortal body. So your perspective is that you didn't actually succeed, but there's also this parallel version of you that does exist, that thinks that it did succeed, because it's just a photocopy of your brain, right?
Yeah, it's just a library of your brain. I like that, actually. I'm going to keep using that.
So that is an interesting concept to look at it.
Or your time palace. There you go. We can go Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
Your mind palace.
So it's really weird, because that perspective is what matters. Like, because unless I really don't know how this would work, to be totally honest.
Like, for example, we couldn't ever rebuild Washington because, yes, we have writings and stuff of him, but is that who he truly was? We don't know. But actually taking a one-for-one brain, though, pattern, yeah, I do believe we could actually bring someone back today, technically.
But
once again, bringing the
caveat, still not continuation of life after death in that same sense, though.
No, it wouldn't be heaven or hell.
No.
But it would be conquering death.
More in the sense of, maybe it's preserving a person's personality, but maybe not actually conquering death in the full spectrum, as in the sense where the perspective of the person shifts from the body to the computer, so it feels like there's a consistent retaining of self.
Well,
Now we're
another
getting into
question
the weeds.
is like a sociopath when it doesn't feel anything?
Yeah. Okay, you know what? That's actually an interesting
Are
argument.
they, I was about to say, are they without souls? I mean, if we were to just put our brains into bodies, would we actually act the same?
That is an interesting argument. Does a sociopath think more like what a technocrat would think like? Who specifically is, well, sort of like my brain works, who think input, process, output.
Well,
Is
get me
that
if I'm wrong.
how?
Most of them are cause pain is because seeing people's reactions the only thing that makes them curious, interesting. Since they don't really have feelings, it's hard to really place what it is. But that's the only thing that basically makes them chubby, I guess. Hope to say.
Interesting.
I could be wrong,
There's an
but
interesting
I'm
moral
pretty
debate to be
sure.
had here for sure.
Well, morals hold you behind. No morals cause chaos, so.
Yeah. Somewhere somebody's gonna have to walk this fine line, and I'm kind of glad that it's not us.
Like, not to be
We're
a jerk bag here, but it's really hard. A lot of people are agreeing that like we gotta go with like at least the Christians' ideas and ideologies and stuff like that, because that's the only way forward. But that's the one thing that's held us back every single time. Like, look at the coal engine. We found blueprints to a coal engine during the dark times, and then he actually never made it because what would have happened to him? You've seen
Yeah,
some of the horrible devices they did back then.
that's
That
true.
held back technology, what, 100 years or something like that? That period in time?
Well, that and trying to preserve jobs at the same time is another thing that also keeps technology back.
It is, and there lies a problem, in my opinion. That's why I don't really. UBI of some kind.
Yeah.
If not that, then you're giving a job that you're required to do, or something. I don't know, because you're
Because
not wrong. Money really does hold us back, because that's why our infrastructure is failing and everything else. It's not socialism versus capitalism, it's just money as a whole.
well,
But then again, without money, there is no saying, well, why should one person do this over the other, outside just preservation.
so here's one of the big issues that I think that we have. It's not that we have money, it's that we use it incorrectly. Like, look at our federal budget. Look at how much we spend every year on what they call mandatory spending. So that's things like Social Security, Medicare, food stamps, all that welfare benefits, all that stuff. All that stuff falls under mandatory spending. We're spending about $1 trillion a year on that crap.
Well, right, but what is a politician? You hire them in by feelings, they all have their own agendas, therefore they all think money should go to a certain place, and they get a bill passed to have just money keep spreading in so many different places. And like most things, just like any company that's, been around for a while, using old plus going with new, you have money, or even just like a personal, getting so many subscriptions. Think of your subscriptions on as politicians. After so long, without actually going to an app or getting a program, you don't understand where's all the money's going. Half the
Isn't
stuff you don't use anymore. But
isn't it
once again, then you go back to the job thing. You make a smaller government, that's also getting rid of jobs.
isn't it interesting how the founders created a system where the branch that handles the finances is the branch that's the most likely to be full of turmoil? The branch that's least likely to reach a consensus.
Well, maybe at the time people talked and thought differently. Maybe they saw a different
They did, because at the
world.
time the world we lived in a world where we shared a worldview. We shared the same principles. We all want a better America. We don't live in that world anymore. Now we live in a world of, well, it's globalists
Guilt.
versus nationalists. That's really what it
No,
boils
we,
down
we
to.
live in a world of guilt.
Well, yeah, but that's the
What can I
globalists.
make you feel guilty about?
Which is the globalists.
Having too much money, not having enough, not having a girlfriend, not having a house? We live in a world of guilt.
Well,
why
like I
you go
said,
do these things. A lot of people think, oh, well, we go do these things to survive. No, it's because you're shamed for them. It's guilt. And now everybody's calling what a lot of what I see online right now. Maybe my algorithm's just screwed, by the way. But a lot of stuff I see online is like a lot of people are saying, like, jobs are just a humiliation ritual anymore. A lot of people, that's been working for a while are stepping away and just saying, I don't want to do it anymore because I'm sick of humiliating myself for barely surviving.
it is
Just
interesting.
for what? To keep working another 60 years because, let's face it, wasn't retirement just pushed to 70? Well, how long before it's 80, 90, 100? Or
It,
how long did they just say, oh, no retirement?
It is interesting because you seem to have a more nihilistic worldview about it, so that colors your algorithm. I have a more optimistic worldview that colors my algorithm because I see a lot more of hopeful, positive things. I see a lot of
You think I'm more of
constructive
a
message.
nihilist?
I think you are a
I was called
nihilist.
cynical.
You
I was
are a
called cynical
nihilist,
before.
absolutely. You are 100% a nihilist because a nihilist is somebody who, well, why should I care because X thing is already bad? Y thing is just going to get
The world's
worse.
good end. What's the point?
Exactly. Then that's your perspective, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to find hope in it though.
So
And
that's
it's just, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's just my situation.
a lot of it is your personal situation. I think that something that can help though is to have something to actually feel motivated to look forward to. And I think that's one of the reasons why this podcast is going to be so beneficial to us. Not just you, to us. Like, because this is good for me because I feel like I need something to strive towards as well.
But another thing too, especially like when we're having just conversations like this, if even just 3 people were to find us, and even if they didn't all agree, just to, thought a few of the same ideas to show up and to have a discussion with would be pretty cool to know that there's other people that share the same view.
And it would be nice to be able to show you also, Nox, that there are people out there that have hope for the future and that want to see things get better and that are wanting to actively put in the work to make that happen. And I think that if we can get our message out there and get enough of people who share a similar worldview as maybe even you, where everything sucks, everything's bad, maybe those people can start to see hopeful light here. And I think that there's a lot of good that can come out of all the bad that we're seeing. I know it's hard to see right now.
Well, this is true, but it's everybody gets hurt along the way, and it always goes back to why is it always the people at the bottom has to suffer the most. Basically, the blood of the engine, the oil, as you will, always is the first one to get drained. It's never the meat. It's never the skull. It's never the heart. Never the liver. Never even a foot. It's always the blood.
Well, it also
That's
depends
the
on
first
what
thing that
you're
gets
putting.
drained.
That's what you're putting into the system is what needs to come out first, I guess.
Well, we didn't have control over the system for a long time, and we technically still don't. But yeah, you're right. There is an opportunity for another.
I think the control
Either
aspect.
one way or another. I mean, one world order is the way I really see it of some sort.
Well,
I'm
that's the
against
thing.
it, but that's the only thing. It's either that or we're always going to be at nuclear threat of killing each other. We're going to have to eventually have one person leading stuff, and that's going to mess up religions and everything else. So, three-body problem kind of first book kind of situation, in my opinion, there.
Well, I really do think that with the right push, we can go the correct direction. It's just a matter of organizing the people who want to go the same direction as you. Because the way that our enemies, and trust me, they are our enemies, whether you want to acknowledge it or not. There are people who actively want everything to fall, everything to fail. And those are the people that we need to fight back against.
Well, yeah, that's why everything is push doomer. But you can't blame everybody for feeling this.
No, but I can't blame anybody at all for feeling that way. What I can do is offer an alternative perspective.
That's true. It doesn't do much, though. actual seeing something that is the more effective cause.
Well, one of the things about these kinds of conversations is if it stops at just being a conversation, then of course you're not going to see change. One of the big problems I think that both of our generation has in particular is we want to see the change, we don't want to be the change. We need to be the change.
Well, it's kind of like going back to when anytime you hear about apocalypse maybe coming or something, right? Everybody's like, yeah, let it bring it on, bring on like the revolution or something. I mean, like, you'd be sitting in your chair watching it, bitching about it. Let's be honest. A lot of people want to sit there and say, oh, I'll be out there actually shooting. No. The people actually doing that or be not the ones wanting to, the one pushed over the edges.
Well, we're already seeing that the people that are willing to fight for their things are the ones that are going to be willing to do the most extreme shit. And the ones that do that are the ones that ultimately win out.
I think it'll be the people don't have anything will be the ones getting pissed off. The people don't have anything to fight for, that's going to be the rebellion.
So, young men.
That will change. Yes, because if I have nothing to lose for or, live for or lose, why not?
And that's also the same thing that I've been saying, where they literally need to step up and take control of their own lives. And they're going to. It's just a matter of,
well,
I
they
guess,
are
pushing
in
into that
a
breaking
stint.
point.
It's just a lot of them, if you think about it, to even start collecting a whole bunch of money and only worrying about that to get their people in to actually make a change in the world. A lot of them know that they're not going to get a girlfriend or see another or see a child in their future. Therefore, who are you doing this for? Literally just the world. They are martyrs, unfortunately.
Yep.
I'm sorry,
That's the truth.
unsung heroes is what they'll be.
Well,
It's like how many times did people jump in front of a bullet on the battlefield for a certain individual we don't even know the name of? They happen to take the right shot to actually, make headway. There's so many. We could look at a wall, but we don't know who the ones were just, unfortunately, were just there gunned down. We don't know which ones actually had courage. We don't know which ones shot the other ones in the back just because they had a rival at breakfast that evening. So, now we're on the battlefield. Fuck you, I don't like you. This shit happens because it's war. So our heroes, unfortunately, have nothing, and they know the only thing they're going to leave behind is hopefully a better world. They won't even leave a mark, unfortunately. The mark will be a hole.
And I think that's
and how
where
many
a lot
us,
of people go
that's
wrong.
why we want to be creators and writers, because we all want to leave an internal mark of some sort, even if that's just a kid or a foundation or a funny comic.
One of the things that I think that's interesting about that is that I think that's a fundamental flaw about the human race, is because we all want to be the main character. None of us are the main character. And I get it. We all want to leave our mark.
That's not what I'm saying. We all want to leave behind something.
Right.
Now,
we
just
all
because I leave behind a child,
leave kind of some sort of mark or impact on the world. I get that. And sometimes the truth is colder than that. Sometimes you don't leave a mark. Sometimes most people don't leave a mark.
That's what I was saying. It is colder, but without us wanting to leave a mark, we wouldn't have something like even writing or the human speech.
Yeah. I'm not debating that at all, because I don't disagree with that. What I'm saying is that there's that inane drive that exists in every human being, no matter what, to leave some sort of indelible mark. And even though that is a flaw of ours, it is the one thing that drives us to reproduce and to create. And without that inherent drive, without that inherent want to leave a mark, humans could progress in wildly further than what we have if we were all to focus on, well, this is for the greater good of society, as opposed to this is what I want to do for my legacy.
I think that's why post-apocalypse stuff is doing so well right now. because in a world that's literally gone with like zombies and stuff, what is the point of going on?
Well, at that point,
So
it's
you
just
look at them like heroes. Like, you ever seen The Road, for example? Really sad movie, but great movie. What I'm trying to say, in the apocalypse situation, you're not necessarily living for a better life. You're living to hopefully find a can of beans to have one last good meal, a bag of chips, clean water, a shower.
that's survival.
Just a smooth, a nice life.
That's
Or
survival.
I'm sorry, night. It is, but when you have nothing and you're not leaving a mark behind, that's all you're doing. But now we're asking people not to survive. We're telling them to actively go out and seek the bandits to wipe them out.
I don't think that's the case. I think we're just telling people that they have to do something different than they're used to doing. No different than when we got rid of the coal people that were shoveling coal into trains.
A lot of people die, man.
Yeah, and
transition always kills a lot of people.
And that's the unfortunate reality, and something that unfortunately happens. And in order to be able to actually move on past this point, because what's worse is stagnating and stretching it out and causing more suffering, or getting it over with, ripping the Band-Aid off.
A lot of people are just like, you know what, bring back the Stone Age.
I'd rather
restart.
just rip the Band-Aid
off.
off.
Not progression, but restart.
I just want to rip the Band-Aid off because I don't want to be in the Stone Age. I want to go to Mars. I want to go to the moon. I want to go to other star systems. We're not going to do that if we go backwards, you know?
I don't know.
But the only
Have
way
we done this already? You know, there's that conspiracy too.
I mean, potentially, yeah, there's always that conspiracy. But I still think that there's like an inane drive to push for more. And Manifest Destiny didn't come out of nowhere when it came to America.
No, but the problem is you always have the people want to push society forward, not for money or anything else. Just, hey, I see a problem, or hey, I know how to do something, let's do it. And then you have the backer that I can see how to get control over this. So
you're always going to have that.
I will tell you whatever.
There's always going to be that element of some motherfucker that's going to be involved that's corrupt or tainted. And you know what I say to that? You don't let a bad thing interrupt good design. One fatal flaw should not dictate whether or not you engage a system. So
I don't think people are arguing progression. People just don't want kill switches them. So the thought you just had right there, if 100 years from now when we're all chipped and everything else like that, because that's coming, we're all monitored constantly, and I mean openly. It's no longer just theories or privacy having select. I mean, just there's no more do you agree to this? It's just this, however, and you have just one wrong thought. Do you know I openly speaking about it? They press a button, you have a heart attack. No one knew you died, and you know how fast technology moves and how with propaganda, so no one even knows they're chipped. So now we just have people having heart attacks for having.
That's why you have to fight back and influence the direction that it goes. Because if you don't, and you just let it go that direction without saying anything, or without complaining or voicing your thoughts about it, or engaging with politics on a level deeper than just voting for somebody, then that's going to happen. And that's going to be the inevitable. But unless you get directly involved...
what's the problem going on right now? We have a war going on. At the same time, we also have very important security stuff is happening that will result in what I'm talking about. What do people care more about? They care more about the war. Is the war affecting us right now? No. And if this goes through here, this goes worldwide. That's what people don't understand. So there's a war happening here. It's happening to one country. And then there's a policy that's happening here that if we let it get passed, will affect the world.
And that's
but we're more concerned about we're always too concerned about something else than the bigger picture, because this is ugly looking. This doesn't seem so important. People are dying over here. This will actually extinct us, basically.
I don't think it will. I think that, if anything, the idea behind what you're saying, the whole Palantir thing, and the whole geospatial surveillance and all of that,
I think that actually could serve the opposite as your argument. Because one of our biggest issues right now is crime and not being addressed, especially here in the United States. Now, I agree, there is a point to where it becomes too heavy-handed, you go too far. That's why it's important to be involved deeply in local politics and in federal politics. Whether you like politics or not, these affect your life. These affect your kids' lives. So if you don't want that world, if you don't want 1984, then do something about it. And I don't mean get a gun. I mean run for office. Pitch your ideas. Don't be worried about the money. Because if enough people support you, the money will come. So that's my argument. Fight back. Do the good fight. Use the system that we have in place and use it to the best benefit to society. Don't let things decay because you feel that there's no hope. I feel very strongly
Problem
that there
is they'll
hope.
pass them regardless. If they don't get passed this way, they're going to stick them in other
That's
little
fine.
bills
That's fine.
that will pass these later.
That's fine. Because you can always repeal laws.
That's very slow. I think we have so many dumb laws.
We do have a lot of dumb
And
laws.
if that ever happens.
That's why one of the big things that one of my arguments is that all laws need to be rewritten and they need to come with a default status where they expire after 4 years, and Congress must review them before they can be re-enabled. There would be certain exceptions, certain federal crimes like murder, rape, kidnapping. Those would all be non-negotiable as defined as they currently are in law. But things like surveillance issues, things like taxation policies, all of these things need to have an expiration date. It needs to force Congress to actually do their jobs instead of trying to vote for lobbyists. That's the other thing. We need to ban stock trading and private equity in Congress and in the Senate.
Good luck with that one.
Yeah, that's going to be a hard one to do, but I think that
That will not happen without a complete and total overhaul.
Well, once you see a lot of these boomers dying off, which they're at the mortality shelf, a lot of the people that are in Congress and a lot of people that are in the Senate are either going to retire out or just die while they're in office. And there's going to be a lot of millennials and a lot of Gen Z taking these seats. And you know what? Maybe that's how we see the change. Because there's a lot of young men who are fed the fuck up.
Or we just see the boomers over again.
The boomers can't come back, bro. They're dying.
No.
Or do you think they're going to turn
Okay,
into boomers?
a lot.
You think that they're going to
Well,
get
once
corrupted?
you start getting to seats of power, and oh yeah, that's really easy. There's a lot of people that have a cause, they have a big audience, and then once they get to a certain point, it's like they do a 360, because once they actually get in there and once they have connections and they no longer need the voters, whatever you want to call them, they no longer need their constituents anymore, because now they have connections.
Well, I think that
that does stuff to people.
I think that's something that has definitely been an issue in Congress and in the Senate for a long time.
That's a human trait. That's a human trait.
I disagree with you fundamentally, because if you have a strong enough ideology, then you don't have that issue. I think that one of the big things to keep in mind about specifically Gen Z men, they call them Zoomerwaffen, bro.
I don't know what that means.
They basically say they're Nazis because they're like really religious. They're really right wing. So they call them Nazis because the left thinks that people who respect religious identity are automatically Nazis for some reason. I don't know. It's some stupid argument.
No, it's just.
But they do call them.
If the church you go to preaches the Bible and not portray it how they want to be portrayed, that's all it is. If it's not their interpretation of it, then yeah, that religion's bad.
So,
kind of like, look at, for example, Catholics just fine because Catholics ain't pride or gay flags. They allow women to preach. they allow gays to preach. So like the Catholics, like they're you
They're
know,
not very godly,
if
I'll
you're
tell you
Catholic,
that.
that's okay. And look at most politicians, Catholic, 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 Catholic. Huh? Yeah,
Look
everybody
at
wants to talk about the Jews.
Well, I mean, there's only a couple of Jews in Congress. One of the Jews in Congress that I actually really like is Randy Feinstein. He's actually a really smart guy.
No, I just mean like with everybody attacking every God religion, uh, Jesus. Well, no, I guess yeah, God religion, because that's right. The Jews
Ooh.
don't believe in Jesus, or at
Prepare
least they
for
don't believe he came down.
prepare for 10 years of religious
No one
arguments
gives
being
Catholic
made.
enough shit. That's my problem.
Yeah, after the midterms, you're gonna see a shift in the culture argument, where you're gonna see a lot more people talking about God and country. You're gonna see kind of like a shift towards Bush-Reagan policy, because this is what the Zoomerwaffen wants.
Well, how does that fit in an AI world with surveillance?
Well,
It doesn't.
that's the thing. I don't think it will.
Because I'm sorry, if you're
I don't
being
think your
surveillance
surveillance
constantly,
no,
right?
I don't think your surveillance is gonna be around long enough for that. I think once they
Explain.
start taking office, they're going to start repealing every single thing that has anything to do with that kind of stuff. Trump's AI provisions that prevent us from being able to make AI laws, they're going to strike that shit down. They're also going to they're going to ban Palantir altogether, because there's a lot of right-wingers that do not like it and they want it gone. And there's going to be also a massive withdrawal of support from Israel, no matter which side takes power. But we're not going to be experiencing this heavy-handed AI surveillance like what you're thinking, because there's not enough political capital for it. Give it another 10 years. If it were to stay Democrat policies, yes, absolutely, that's the direction it would go.
I mean,
right now we're in that.
You're already constantly surveillance. They were in every 2026 car from here on out will have cameras put inside them to watch the driver.
Yep,
with
as
kill
a result
switches.
of policies that were instated before Trump came into office. One of the things that we need to keep in mind is that you can repeal these laws. You can fight to have these removed, because a lot of these are unconstitutional and violate your privacy.
Well, not to be a dick here, but the
Look
most
what the Supreme Court just
surveillance-heavy AI people are already in the White House. Elon Musk and Donald Trump, bro. That's kind of another problem.
They're not going to be there forever. We've got 2 more years of Trump. He's gone. And he's effectively going to be a lame duck president for the rest of his term, because Congress is going to be deadlocked and he's not going to be able to pass any of his policies. All he can do is foreign stuff. He can't do anything locally. He cannot do anything at home, because everything that he wants to do at home requires congressional approval and actual coherence in the Senate, neither of which do we have. Right now, Congress and the Senate are both deadlocked.
And we don't even know who the 2 main people they're going to be voting are.
Yep. Oh, yeah,
we have theories, yeah, but we have no idea who are going to win the primaries.
Yeah, it's going to be either Kamala Harris or Gavin Newsom. It's one of those two. Maybe AOC will throw her hat in the ring, but I think she likes being in Congress too much for that.
You really think Kamala's going to try to run again?
Yeah.
You don't think they'll try to do Michelle Obama or something?
Nah, Michelle Obama won't run. There's too much that can be used against her. At least Kamala Harris had kind of like a clean slate whenever she ran for office, other than the whole, she wasn't terribly involved in politics before the whole Joe Biden situation.
Well, when you sleep your way to the top, I mean, the only thing you have to, be into is the sheets.
And the other thing is, the Democrats like an empty suit. Michelle Obama's not an empty suit. Kamala Harris is an empty suit. Gavin Newsom is an empty suit.
You know, I almost want to say if you're gonna go be a freaking politician, you should be a eunuch.
A eunuch? Cut your dick off?
Well, think about it. If you're not controlled by any sexual urges, and you don't have any bloodlines, therefore you really don't care about the money either. If you have really nothing, you know, kind of in on it outside just helping people. Plus, you have to pay that kind of price to get in. I mean, you
I
wouldn't see a
support
lot of
this.
politicians. That's less government, right? That's what people want. Well, make
support
it hard
this.
to be a politician.
I
Or
support
I'm sorry,
this.
make it worse to be a politician, not hard to be a politician. Make that shit as easy as possible. Make being a politician hell.
Yeah, make the
'Cause that's
barrier
what
to
it should
entry
be.
so high that only those who actually fucking care will do it.
Make it so they're paid just minimum wage, period. Give them salary, of course, and give them a car and give them the basic house. Basic car, basic house, what a
You get
basic
a
person will drive.
single-family
Because
home
if you're
in downtown
if you're
Detroit.
if you're constantly always living off the minimum wage, not never getting a raise by the way, if you're all constantly living off the minimum wage, and you're constantly driving the crappiest car, it can be a, you know, brand new crappy car, but you know what I mean, like the lowest end, and you're constantly, you know, tell me if I'm wrong. You would want to see change, right? Because if you improve the very bottom person's life, it improves yours. All of a sudden, there's an incentive to do so.
There you go. This is an argument I actually can get behind and I can agree with, because it provides a solid incentive to make congressmen improve their own lives.
Yes,
And
and
in
no
turn-
trades or anything else. Basically, if it's not something the little man can do, and if they want to work W-2 jobs, then they should live like W-2 people. And
That's
by
fair.
the way, you can look it up. Minimum wage was actually freaking there, so you could actually afford a house living on minimum wage. So when they talk like, oh well, something like McDonald's paying minimum wage, that actually was actually designed to actually give you a fucking future, believe it or not.
Well, the biggest
Shit's
issue
been
has
so
been
brainwashed and swooshed over and capitalized to death that we all just believe the cabal. Hey, if you're low on a toll pole, you're just not trying hard enough.
here's what our
You know, there's
biggest,
some of us that literally just want to exist, have a family,
okay.
have a car, have a house, not multiple, nothing else like
Here-
that, maybe a garden, stuff
here-
like that, and then die.
Here's a thought experiment for you, because I need you to think about this very carefully. Because you can't just raise the minimum wage overnight. You can't do it. You just cannot do it. Think about this. Minimum wage, $7.25 an hour. That's what most companies be paying people who start out. Okay? You say, all right, well, we're going to make the minimum wage $16 an hour. Make everybody a livable wage. We're going to enforce this overnight. What happens? Number one, mom and pop shops, the ones that are paying people $7.25 an hour, they all close because they can't afford to pay their employees. Number two, you have an influx of dollars from corporate spending, paying their employees more money, which would obviously impact their profits, which, yes, that's a good thing. I will say that part's a good thing. But they pay more money to their employees. Now the market has more dollars. What happens when the market gets flooded with more dollars, but there's all of a sudden no more supply? Cost goes up. Inflation. So this is why we don't raise the minimum wage, because when we raise the minimum wage, you put more dollars into the economy, which devalues the dollar. This is one of the biggest issues that we've been having since we switched to a fiat currency instead of a gold-backed
Hoarding
system.
money inflates the dollar too, because we print the dollar, because the dollar's worthless. It's not backed by anything.
That's exactly what I'm saying. This is the issue we've been having since fiat currency was introduced into the market. And now, since a dollar no longer has a finite value, you can hoard as many of them as you like. And then once you start introducing more of those dollars into the economy, it gets devalued even further. And then everybody starts living a worse life because the people that aren't making that much money are all of a sudden having lower and lower and lower spending power. So you may raise the minimum wage to $16 an hour, but you've effectively changed nothing.
No, because I would also cap the companies. Every person's only allowed to make so much. And anything made after that will be a spillover.
Okay, and then nobody wants to work anymore, because why would I be incentivized to work any harder because I make $10 million a year and I only get to bring home $1 million and $9 million of that goes back into the company? Or my $9 million of that goes to the government. Why should I work harder then?
Because you're making more in person, only making $50,000 because you're making $100,000 a year.
Okay, but why would I want to work harder than that, though? Why would I want to
Early
improve?
retirement.
Okay, but what if I want to keep working? But I want to be
Then
rewarded
you
for
work
my
out a
efforts.
principle. Okay, unemployed people. Okay, you can find these TikToks, and I talk to them. They just want to work, and they want to get paid something. They don't care really how much, and they don't want to do a lot of work either. So they want like the sitting jobs, or the walking around like Harbor Freight jobs, or driving parts back and forth jobs. They want basically the lower entry jobs. Same people, by the way, they're bitching about, young people don't have jobs. That's something I always find funny.
Okay, but that still doesn't really address the whole capping how much they make, though. Because once you start doing that, then people lose all incentives to want to work harder, even like the corporate fields.
It's almost like you'd see a stop of greed. What it means, any progression you saw would be slow, would actually be progression, not a mixed bag of progression, degression, mixed greed, propaganda, murder, different trade-offs,
No, I think you would get
undershadowed
something worse.
governmenting.
I think you get something worse as a result of that. I think you get a bunch of dejected people that don't see a reason for working any harder because they have a hard cap to hit. So now once they hit that cap, they're like, what's the fucking point? I'm done. I've hit the end game. There's
Elon
nothing to
Musk
aim
said
for.
it perfectly. When robots take over, the hardest thing people have to figure out what they're going to do is what their purpose will be when they no longer have to work.
And that's the thing. I don't think that we will ever get to the point of people will no longer have to work. I think that even UBI is going to come with requirements.
Okay, let's look at YouTubers. There you go. There's kind of like that world of people just doing what they want to do. You still see people building houses that love doing it, that want to show off the craft.
Yeah, not to say that there's going to be enough.
And then you
of
see
those
some
kinds of
people
that
get
do
into
that.
just carpenter because, hey, I want to just show stuff off, or they get into primitive building. Like,
Okay.
who would want to go and starve for weeks on end to not even have a YouTube channel yet, to just maybe see if I could survive out there? Why would you want to do that?
People do all.
You're not even getting paid for that.
But people are weird. But that's the thing.
That's my point. You would
can't-
actually see real, true progression. It would be actually, hey, what actually would.
Where's the incentive for the progression? What reason do we have to make things better if they're already good?
People enjoy it.
That's not a good enough reason.
Then, well, I
Then
mean, I
all
don't
you would
know.
see is
Everybody
stagnation.
thinks there's statistic people, right? Well,
Because-
get rid of the statistics, right?
No. What happens when you become complacent as a society? Look at Rome.
Look at the U.S.
And
Okay.
that's why you fight. You can't just become complacent.
So it sounds like we end up in the same situation we're in right now. So why not give mine a try?
So the argument is, do you want to live in a society where you have a hard cap and nobody feels like there's any reason to do anything? Or do you want to live in a cyberpunk-like society where it's more dystopian, but there's not a hard ceiling?
I'd rather live with the cap. Makes more sense.
I'd rather live in the more dystopian society. Because at least I would see cooler technology faster.
Yeah, but you wouldn't be able to afford the technology.
Potentially. Depends.
A social credit score comes with that technology, so
Social credit
you
score
could have all the
already
money in the
exists.
war. You could okay. So you see my point here. You could have all the money in the world. Where's my incentive? I can't spend any of it, even on food.
Well, yeah, well, and that's
Because they could be taken away literally with a click overnight because my social score went down. Now all of a sudden half the businesses don't want it. I can't even walk in the door because there's force fields, for example.
That's something that.
And somehow that's an incentive to work.
Well, no,
That's
I'm
an
saying
incentive to be controlled. To have one thought.
that's a consequence of existing in a society. I'm sorry, but that just is. Because if you're going to start doing things that are unfavorable to the society, unfavorable to the growth of society, then you're going to be treated as an outcast. That's just the realist way to look
So how
at it.
does spillover not get technology? Then you would have more money for people that actually want to make advancements, and you would have less people trying to buy
Because it removes the incentive to work harder. It removes the want for me to go, well, I can try harder. I can push for more. I can make more. Why would I want to if I'm just set, okay, well, I only make $1 million. Everything else goes to some other researcher.
There are some people that just enjoy doing the craft.
And I don't think that's a good enough reason to
Some people
do it.
just enjoy doing robotics.
I think that there needs to be a capital incentive for people to want to do it.
There is an incentive if you really want to put it that way.
Capital
You're not.
incentive. I mean, money. There needs to be some sort of monetary transaction.
Yes, there's going to be a cap, so anybody at the very top won't have to work anymore. That doesn't mean everybody at the bottom, the young minds, the people just starting, the people that we're supposed to be making more intelligent, by the way, moving up faster, and then we don't have so many people at the top wanting to sit there and just age and rot there with their one idea, because that idea is the only thing that matters. I will even if you prove me wrong, will spend money to make sure you shut up because this is my idea and I'm not willing to give up my limelight yet. We would see a more rapid pace of younger people going up, working, coming up with all these cool ideas, because when you're young, you just want to be creative half the time. When you get older, that's when you really start caring more about all the fucking, well, I have way more than everybody else. I have 1,700 freaking cars. Haha.
Yeah, but then again, you're still taking away that incentive to want to work harder. Because if you introduce a cap...
I said slower progression, but more meaningful progression.
I don't think it's a worthy trade-off. I personally just don't. I think that if you want to see advancement in your lifetime, you accept the bad that comes with it. Instead of intentionally delaying everything and creating a slower burn. Because inevitably you're going to get the same
Star
result.
Citizen is my perfect example of this. It should be released by now. Just stick it out. Build it over time, which what you're saying, because just get it out, let everybody be damned. It'll be dystopian at the end. We only have 100 players when he finally hits the mark, right? But hey, I have 100 players.
That's going to be the end.
What is he doing? No, he's holding back. He's able to collect money, right? Bring it in, and he's also losing money too because he has to pay his employees, right? He's almost capped. Yes, he's making more money. He's also had to hire more people, spend more money. So he's not truly actually making actual money if you think about it. Not a whole bunch. Yes, it doesn't necessarily grow because you have to keep paying people. Yeah, and give yourself bonuses and stuff. But however, are you not agreeing the game better? Is it not better than half the stuff on the market? Yes, it's buggy and stuff, but it can get better, right? Progression is slow, but meaningful. And then you have big bursts of, oh my god, there's a whole bunch of stuff.
His limitation is not that he can do this today and just put it out. That's the thing that I'm arguing, is this is something that could be potentially done today that would alter things for the worse.
I mean,
this is a very difficult situation because there's so many possible perspectives.
If we did it today, we would be very lucky, because if it stopped like that, we would see basically the stock market of so many dumb people jumping off because they would think stuff's meaningless. And then you would have the rise of actually other people being able to actually get into place.
You know what else happens when you do that? You run into, oh shit, as it is, we're already running into the problem. You're not going to meet population replacement. So you start having a bunch of men that just commit suicide because they don't feel like there's any reason to keep going because now there's a hard cap on how much they can earn a year. What if that's their only reason for living,
If your only reason for living is just pure money at that point, I mean, there'd also be an incentive, if you think about it, for women to want to date men, because then it wouldn't, who are you going to date makes any more than anybody else?
I think that lowers the incentive because that lowers the bar. Because women are competitive too. I think
twos think they're nines.
That's the point. Women are also competitive. I think that's the other thing. Capping stuff like this takes out the competitive element, and humans are competitive by nature. That's why we have so many sports.
No, we have people just show off. No cameras, nothing else, because someone dared them to do it.
Yes, but you do it because
So
you
you have
want to
two
do it better
engineers.
than
I
someone
guarantee
else.
I can make. I guarantee I can make a better robotic arm than you can.
And
It's
what
on,
better way to
just like
reflect
that.
that than a dollar amount? You get
What
rewarded
better
for
way
your
to reflect
efforts.
that when you don't have to worry about the money, and they just can keep trying and failing?
And no matter what you do, that's never going to happen. You're never going to get to a point where you can't just not worry about the money.
Well, I
Because it
mean,
has to come from
you would
somewhere.
have to worry about the money. You're right about that.
It
So
has to
it's
come
almost
from
like there's an
somewhere.
incentive, correct? I said you can only make so much. Therefore, if you have a project, you are capped. The company is capped.
Which would be an incentive to not do that project. Why would I do that project when halfway
I
through that
mean,
project I'm going to
if you're
reach my
losing
cap?
$100 million and you're only making $1 million, obviously you're doing something wrong. Where's the incentive? Apparently, like, well, the incentive is to work harder, right? Because you're actually losing more money than you're gaining.
And then this line of logic just breaks down because it absolves everybody of any want to do anything further.
Well, where was the incentive when we were just hunting and gathering, surviving?
Literally that, survival. That was your
Yes.
incentive. Your
That
incentives
is
were
still the
survival.
incentive to date. To date, it's still survival. Go get a job to survive. Go get a house to survive. Why I think houses aren't free. Why I
I
think
don't think it's
phones are free,
survival.
but
I think we
houses
have a
aren't.
lot more value in our lives today than there's ever been in before. Like, I can sit here and bitch on the internet. That's something that no other generation's been able to do.
But what you're doing is you're surviving in luxury.
Yes.
A rich person doesn't have to work whatsoever, survives in luxury.
Because they earned their efforts or their family earned that life for them. It's one of the incentives from not setting a hard cap on things. So you can set your family up for, your children, your wife, for after you die.
And as we're learning, it doesn't always produce the best people, does it?
No, that's why you can't always rely on
Because
that.
without struggle, you don't really have. Yes, some people can actually be more sympathetic, grow up with a lot of money, and actually want to do something. Most people, they just feel, oh, I feel kind of guilty. We'll just, I don't know. You want to cut off your pecker? Yeah, we'll go support that because I feel the same way because I have literally nothing else going on in my life. Put money behind it, it feeds disease, and now look what we got.
So you ban abominations like that, that's fine. That still doesn't really defeat
Then
my
where's
greater
the
argument.
incentive to want to be different?
You shouldn't want to be different. You should just want to be you. You don't have to
Shouldn't
be
you want to be
unique or
unique?
special. No, because you're not. You're not. I'm sorry, you're not. Neither am I. I'm just another fucking guy.
Most parents tell their kids they're special growing
And that's
up.
the biggest lie that parents will ever tell you. You're special, baby. You're special. You're unique. You're different. No, you're fucking not. You're another human being on this goddamn planet. Guess how many of us there are? 8 billion. Nobody's special.
Yeah.
You can become special by working hard and pushing for those incentives that I keep mentioning. And that's a way for other people to identify, oh, hey, that person is special. Because that is reflected by that dollar amount that is given to you by other people because they also agree that person is special.
Or that person was lucky. That was the one that just got pushed the algorithm. That was when it went to the right boarding school and born at the right date and time.
You know what? Sometimes luck does happen. That's true.
Luck happens more than you think.
That's true. And you know what? Sometimes
and it's actually controlled luck at some of it.
I don't call it controlled luck at that point. If it's not luck, then if it's controlled by something, it's not luck. Okay, that's influence. That's different.
That's fair, but a lot of people call it luck. I just mean by controlled luck by someone else actually manipulated, but everybody else calls it luck. Yeah. And even they sit there and say it's luck, even though they know it's false.
No, there's
controlled
some
luck.
instances of like genuine luck, like a motherfucker hit the lottery. Yeah, that's luck. But that comes with
Asmon Gold's channel, that's luck.
No, that's not
It's
luck.
not that he was one of the first people streaming or doing that stuff. If you remember, what actually made him big because he was the first one to actually run a dungeon and raid and complete it. That's what actually made him blow up.
Well, one of the things
that was him working his butt off.
Exactly.
Working his butt off.
Consistently putting in the effort, because he's been uploading videos for years.
But what was his
uploading videos.
incentive? He wasn't making money.
His
He was
incentive
doing that for fun at the time.
He was doing that for fun, and then he got rewarded for it. His never had an incentive. He operates different than other people. Asmongold.
It's almost like there's still people out there. And once again, you'll see progression, but you would see it slower.
Asmongold has always stated this one thing. The one thing that he has always wanted to do in life is wake up, eat Doritos, and play video games. That's all he wants to do with his life.
Yeah.
And he's been consistent about that. So
now he wakes up, gets on camera, or watches YouTube videos and bitch about them. Bitch about shit online. So he upgraded his dream.
He found a hobby, is what he did. That's what it is for him. It's a fucking hobby. But no, I think that's a harder thing to accomplish among most people, because most people need some kind of incentive or some kind of structure, because let's face it, most people are kind of dumb.
Well, let's face it, if your incentive when it comes to any kind of progression or want to create anything whatsoever, it's not trying to do it just to better a problem you see or humanity, then why are you doing it in the first place?
And then
if your incentive is money, well, I think we can pretty much see how well that works.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean,
we have proof to the opposite of what I'm
proof
talking about.
Is that capitalism is still the best form of governance that we have ever come up with as a human society, compared to literally
but
all
it dies. That's the problem. Monopoly proves that.
It does not die.
Cyberpunk proved that too.
You can regulate.
As kind of like right now, we're almost living in cyberpunk. It's one corporation running government. It's not really the government. Government still have some say right now, but not as much pull as we like to think.
The government's running the government. The deep state runs the government. It's just a bunch of entrenched bureaucrats, not corporations. Now, because their incentives align with those of the pharmaceutical corporations and things of that, that doesn't necessarily mean that there's a direct conspiracy. It's just like George Carlin
how do you
said.
get to be someone up there, the deep state, what do you want to call it? It's with money, right? I mean, you run or own some...
It's not with money.
No.
You just started working in the industry. You started working, say you got hired at a DMV. You're a deep state agent. That's all you do. You push papers. Guess what? You're a deep state bureaucrat.
Guess what? If you have stocks, you own a part of that company.
You own a share of that company, which isn't the same thing as owning a part of that company.
Really? So if you pulled all the money out of the stock market for a company, it wouldn't collapse?
No.
So who controls the company?
Shareholders. The shareholders, the primary shareholders. So if you buy
stocks... And you buy off them,
okay.
And if you own 20, 30, 50%, you pull out 50% of what a company's worth, it dies overnight.
Well, it doesn't die overnight. They have to restructure. A company could be saved at 50%. But you're not talking about...
it leaves it in ruins.
You're not talking about anything that has anything to do with what we were just talking about, though, with that. That's a completely different topic. Stock market shit.
No, it's the same topic. You're talking about there's no incentive because of money, and I'm talking about how money is actually the freaking the problem.
Money is not the problem. Money is the only thing that keeps us from wanting to devolve into utter chaos.
Maybe for the majority.
That's the truth, for the majority, and that's what it needs to apply to the most of. That's what we operate on. We operate on a majority rule. That's why we have such a fucked up system of governance. Because it needs to work for the majority and not for, the people who see the biggest issues and want the most refined system. Because if I had it my way, we wouldn't have this system at all either. We would have a completely different system, and voting wouldn't even look like it does.
How would you change the voting?
I would change a lot of things. Number one, I would introduce an IQ test. You cannot vote if you have a sub 100 IQ. I'm sorry. If you're functionally retarded, you cannot vote. That's what sub 100 would be.
I would just change it to if you serve, you get the vote. You already have to be cognate. You already have to know some stuff. Not mention at that point you've already bled for it, or at least put in your time.
Okay, I would caveat that if you can provide some sort of evidence that you have skin in the game. You got kids. You got property. You have a business. If you got skin in the game, okay, I can see that. But if you're just some guy in an apartment, nah, dude.
Maybe it should be more like Sweden then. Everybody's required to be serve the military for a couple of years.
That's Israel type shit, right? Everybody
I think
goes.
that's Sweden that does that.
Sweden does it. Israel does it. If you're a member of the civilization, you need to serve in the military. I can see where that could be beneficial. I'm not going to argue against it, actually, just because I think that it could provide positive outcomes, because then everybody has skin in the game. But in the same instance, then it feels more like forced conscription and less like you have a choice.
But we're not trying to give people a choice. We're trying to give them make a number go up or die.
No, I don't think that's the case. I think that you can have a lot of decisions that you can make
or at
poor
least how it
choices.
sits right now.
So you can make a lot of decisions that would affect our country badly while also keeping us out of wars. Those are the incentives.
You can always make a deal.
Want. So I would rather we get involved into a war and make the decision that makes the more money for the country in the long run. And I know that sounds bad, but what does our government, let me phrase this carefully. What is the fuel of the American economy? What has always been the fuel of the American economy since 1930?
What do you mean by fuel?
War is the fuel for the American economy. What do we manufacture in the United States? Bombs, guns, missiles, tanks, aircraft. That's what we make. We don't make household equipment. We make weapons. That is what the United States does. That is our number one economic driving factor. That's our biggest export.
Well, yeah, whoever has the biggest gun controls the show.
So,
and then if you can back that up with an army, it's even better.
And the only way that you can maintain that show force, maintain that dominance, is if you've always got some kind of war going on. That's why the United States doesn't stay out of conflict. That's why we're always sticking our nose every fucking where.
I know, and people are getting fed up with it. That's why there's going to be a change happening of some sort.
And then when they get handed, if somebody,
that's what I'm talking about. Like, no
Trump.
matter what happens, there's going to be a one world order eventually.
Here's what I think happened with Donald Trump, because all the stuff he was talking about, no new wars and shit like that, he sits down at the White House desk after he gets inaugurated, and the Secretary of Defense, or Secretary of War now, I should say, comes up to him and he's like, okay, well, we've got some interesting news. And he drops this manila folder on his desk. Trump opens this folder up and it says, basically, oh, if you're not, trying to push for some kind of war, your economy is going to die. Because our economy is fake as fuck. We don't manufacture products. We're an attention economy for the most part here in the United States. The things that we make that are actual consumables, things that people go through, things that people buy, are weapons. And the only way we sustain that economic growth is by having more wars.
Yep, that's why we're always selling nukes to somebody.
It's pretty gross, isn't it? But there's
Country
just
ran on greed. Well,
there's
that's the world.
there's so many factors to it though. Like, because if you stop doing that, then your economy collapses and even more people die.
This is kind of why a lot of people are okay going back to the Stone Age, because everything needs a freaking rework, and no matter what way you do it, you have to get a lot of people to agree with it, and we're not just talking about one country either.
Oh no.
So the only way to actually succeed really is, I don't know, pretty much just let it collapse.
You're not getting it the way you want it. That's the thing. Neither am I. Neither of us are going to get our way in the end. Here's what's actually going to happen. Some hard ass is going to come in and be an actual dictator, and he's going to say, here's how it's going to be from here on out, and y'all motherfuckers have to deal with it. And there'll be nothing anybody can be said or done about it. And that's not a nihilistic perspective or anything like that. That's just me seeing this is what's going to happen. And there's not really much of a choice. Because it's going to be one person that does it on the bad side, or one person that does it on the side that's less bad. They're both bad. It's just a matter of which one's less bad. So you're choosing between burning to death and drowning at this point. Which one would you prefer?
Luckily, I can bite my own tongue off.
You can bite your own tongue off.
Yes.
I mean, you're still gonna feel it either way.
Yeah, but neither of them get the win. That's something that's something like when people talk about it, I don't get where other people sit there and just laugh at the other people.
Because I don't think that suicide's the right answer. I think that...
No, I'm not saying it's the right answer, but sometimes the only way to fight is to not fight at all.
I'll always reject that principle. I think that if you're getting the shit whipped out of you, you need to fight back. But you need to do so within the constraints that exist around you. So that's the hardest part, is figuring out how to work the system in your favor. Which is why politics exist.
Yeah, but figuring out how to work the system in your favor is just figuring out another way to...
Because no matter what you
What's
do...
a corrupt system I can corrupt farther? That's basically all you're doing in the end.
What's a corrupt system I can restore?
None of them.
No, I think that's wrong. I think you can restore every one of them. I think every branch of government, every law can be rewritten, everything can be redone.
Can you think of even one town that does anything like that? Even just one?
A couple, actually.
What are they and what do they do? Or who are they and what do they do?
Let me double check this real quick so I'm not lying. Okay, Princeton, Texas is ranked as the fastest growing city in America by a massive percentage. Its population grew by over 30%. It's projected to reach 100,000 within 5 years. They implemented a moratorium on new building permits in 2024 and 2025 to catch up on infrastructure. So they basically said that no more no more building for commercial reasons. You can build for homes and stuff like that, but you're no longer allowed to build for realtors or for real estate moguls and shit like that.
Basically, if you move in here and buy land,
you need
the
to be
land's
somebody
yours,
that wants
but if you're not gonna build something there, then it's just land.
No. It's actually kind of, you're not allowed to build it there if it's a commercial building. So if it's like an asset that you're trying to build there to keep,
Can you buy the land?
You can buy the land. You can put cattle on the
nothing.
land. You can buy the land. You can put cattle on the land. You can put a house on the land.
No. Can they buy the land? If I can't build a residential area, or if I can't build a company there, can the company buy the land there?
No, they cannot.
Okay. That's what I was asking. You know, say if they can just go in and buy the land, then
I thought you were asking
if they
if
want
a
to be
private
that much
citizen
of a
could go. Yeah,
dick.
private citizens can still go in, buy the land, and use it for residential purchase reasons. A private company could theoretically go in and buy it for residential, but then they'd have to prove that they're building a residential home with the intent to sell it to a private owner.
Okay, that makes more sense.
That's why their
'Cause
population
I was thinking like as long as they
jumps
could
so
buy
much.
it, you know.
And it's affordable because people can actually afford to get the land there. It's a little town out in the middle of bumfuck nowhere, Texas. But that's exactly the kind of situations that we need to push for. Push for commercial buildings not being something that you can do. Push for banning BlackRock owning houses. That shit's wild that's even allowed. Private equity should not have homes. I'm sorry. Should not have land. I think it's okay for a business to own the land that their building is on, but they need to be able to prove that that building has licensing and that they actually employ people. These are the kind of regulations that I would install.
Yeah, so that goes back to my other idea. It's like I think to actually make a better change is actually for people to come together and start making smaller villages.
Yes, smaller villages will always be the best way to go because then you're more correctly represented by your local government. And then you can actually have a better voice in your own politics. And you can see the changes being made in front of you. And when the changes go bad, you can go, hey guys, we made a bad choice here. Let's revert this. And everybody can go, yeah, that was a bad choice. Let's fix it.
Like 100 people or so.
Yeah. Small towns,
And
cities.
I was
like
gonna
that.
say smaller because where I come from, apparently there's only 1,000 people here, and trust me, no one knows who anybody is technically. You got a small group that knows everybody, and then
And
you
nobody
know.
knows
But
anybody
when
else.
it comes to politics around here in a smaller town, if you don't have one of the names, where if it's a small thing where everybody knows everybody, then everybody has a chance to run for office. Every family, if you think about it, and it should be that way actually.
That's why
I would almost make it mandatory that everybody in that little thing, because it's only 100 people. You're only having the rule 100 people.
That's why I like the
And by the way,
plains
you only
towns.
move in about 50 or 80 because you gotta account for kids.
Yeah, well, that's one of the reasons why I really like plains towns. You know, like places in Nebraska, Iowa, South Dakota. Those places are phenomenal for having really cohesive, functioning towns. They've got like little churches that almost everybody goes to. You know,
I mean, think about
everybody
it.
knows
Cities are
everybody.
just broke up little towns. They call them districts.
I hate cities, and it's because
Oh,
cities
so do I.
build up, and cities try to pack as many people into one place as possible because then that gives them more election power.
And see, I'm more of a little bit more rebel because when I'm talking about villages, I'm talking about like also self-sustaining villages too. You have your own garden areas if you can support it, you know, because every soil and everything's different. Yes, you're still gonna need farms and stuff. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying get rid of the food industry or anything.
You're talking
But every little
literally
place
like
should be able to have some sustainability. Basically, if something hits awry, you should know the towns that you're governing are okay.
that's literally sounds like the Midwest because they've got farms, they got cattle, they got hogs, they got chickens, they got all the grain and hay they could possibly need. They've got rivers and lakes, they've got water sources, they've got oil sources, they've got quarries for minerals, they've got all of this stuff. They even have oil places to drill and natural gas deposits that they can drill. So the Midwest is completely self-sustaining, and it's all just a bunch of small towns. And it's
And if you
got
think
the
about
best
it,
outcomes.
everybody will have a purpose, right?
Where do the smartest people in our country come from?
Small towns usually.
Ohio, Iowa, South Dakota, Kentucky, Nebraska. They come from small town villages.
They come from struggle. They come from actually seeing. They come from I don't want this.
Damn right.
Or it's because since they were out in the country and they have kind of a, because as we know, in a city everything's go go go, where when you're more out in the sticks, stuff is a little bit slower, even though it still feels like go 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 because that's just how humans work now. So you have more time. What I'm trying to say is like to absorb knowledge.
That's true. And
Like,
you also have more time
sometimes
to
your
reflect.
closest neighbor could be sometimes a mile or so away or, a good walk. So
And that's the value of living in the sticks. Is you have more time to reflect on the important things, and it gives you a clearer picture, and it shows you
And
that.
another thing nice about spreading out, that means more clean air all around. That means pollution coming from other cities, including pollution we make ourselves. Not all of it, but we would actually be able to minimize, and with more trees means more clean air.
You know what else happens when you spread out? Demand for products in general goes down across the board.
And that's probably why they don't want us to do it. But it makes sense to me to do so. Like, once again, you would still want to order stuff for, off something like an Amazon, because your town won't have everything, but it'll have what you need to survive: food, electricity, you know what I'm saying, running water, or a way. Once again, depends on where you're at, which you could provide or what you could do. Like in the desert, it's going to be kind of hard to do some of these things, but it's still possible.
Yeah.
Water
Irrigation,
collection is
piping,
probably
yeah.
the hardest one. You probably have the best power generation out there.
Yeah, and there's lots of benefits.
It really depends on what power you go with. I think pretty much anywhere you live, you can get some sort of, not free, but a continuous energy source as long as you keep feeding it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. You got to keep feeding
something, either raise or something. Like,
hey, that's why
no
I'm
matter
pro-nuclear.
what, there is, like, free energy exists in the sense of it's not actually free. It's energy, everywhere. Everything has energy.
Renewable energy.
Yeah, there's a better way
Like
of saying
burning
it.
coal is a non-renewable energy resource, but burning wood is a renewable energy resource. Burning nuclear fusion or fission, that is a renewable energy resource, because we can.
The ground itself's a renewable energy source. You just keep feeding the right minerals. It keeps producing the right minerals, like carbon and stuff. You keep putting dead trees and stuff in there.
So yeah, there's plenty that we can actually do to make this small
Running
town
water
thing
like a
more possible.
waterfall actually has been proven to actually have energy coming off of it.
Oh, hydroelectricity
And if you go
is great.
high enough into the sky, well, obviously, electricity and stuff forms. Is where most energy seeps up. It seems like, anyway.
I propose, okay, so this is a little out there and a little wacky. Bear with me. You know how there's quartz lining the pyramids, right?
Using quartz crystals?
Yes. Okay, so think about this. What do we spend a lot of time driving on? Roads.
Asphalt.
Why don't we start incorporating a quartz layer into our roads and then adding that to the grid? Because you would get piezoelectric effects just from vehicles rolling over the surface.
Well, we know why, but that's a good idea. Or it could be, I don't know. It sounds like it would work, but I'm not
Even if it's only
anything.
a tiny bit of energy, it's still better than zero energy, right? And
No,
adds
you're
to the
correct.
grid.
And quartz crystal should be pretty easy. I think we got mines and stuff full, so yeah. However, once again, it is one of those things of a resource that we may actually be able to use differently later down the line. But at the same time, it's being used for decoration, so...
We can synthesize quartz, so that's one unfortunate thing. We can make it relatively quickly, too.
Oh, well, in that case, yeah, use synthesized quartz then. I wouldn't use the natural stuff.
Yes.
They probably have certain properties that, once again, we're going to find later down the line that we can use for something.
Right. Ultimately, all I'm after is
Hard
the
drives.
piezoelectric effect, to where you're just, when you roll a vehicle over it, you get energy into the grid.
No, it makes sense because, yeah, they get really hot. Therefore, you could even, Yeah, there should be ways of getting electricity just off the roads, just how hot there is. Shouldn't there? Like, aren't we that smart by now?
Yeah, we actually do have
Yeah,
something like that.
aren't there multiple ways we could actually be using roads for benefits, but we don't?
We could, because, especially in Texas, it would be extremely useful there, because the roads get to be 130,
and hence
140,
the problem. If we made free electricity, everybody's going to be saying the same thing they're saying with AI. The jobs. Free electricity replaced my job. Now me and my family are starving. Yeah, but you have free electricity, bud.
Yep, you got free electricity. Figure out
I
what
was
you want to do with your
paid by
life.
a politician to say this. Okay, that's fair.
You know what? There are a lot of people out there that do influence the discourse in that manner. I will say that.
They do. Everything's always about jobs, but unfortunately, it's any time when it comes to actually growth of any actually putting people back to work, that's where they always seem to be on the defense.
That's true.
Not the people, but the politicians.
It's just a crazy thought experiment to think about, and I am glad that we came to a bit of a consensus on it. It's just extremely such a sticky subject.
It is, and this is a thought experiment, so we were
Debating hotly in this one.
Here's another thought experience for anybody that may watch this. Do we believe anything we just said? Or is this all just a thought experiment? Dun 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 dun.
Another thing. Before we leave you, do you press the red button or the blue button? Goodbye, folks. Leave your answer in the comments.
Mew.
Mew. And that's the show for today. Thanks for tuning in to Mixed Signals, broadcasting across space, time, and questionable Wi-Fi from the planet Florbus.
If you enjoyed the chaos, the theories, and the occasional intelligent thought, make sure you follow the show and share it with someone whose signal is just as scrambled as yours.
And don't forget,
I'm Nox,
I'm Lynx.
and we are transmitting even more mixed signals on YouTube, where we continue our mission of confusing the galaxy one video at a time.
Until next time, keep your antenna up, your frequency open, and remember,
If the signal seems mixed, you're probably receiving the right broadcast.
see you next transmission.